All right, Juice, we're back here.
Awesome.
How you feeling with your belly?
Sore still.
A little sore? So we got two more to go, and then you can go lay down.
Much sore.
You lay down and work?
I try to. It doesn't work very well.
Sit up in your recliner?
Yeah, I try to do that. It doesn't work very well. I can only stay in one position for so long, and then it just becomes a nagging
untenable.
Pain. Yeah.
All right. Well, right now we're going to be talking about digital forensics, and you're taking a class on that right now.
I am.
Juice is taking a fancy class so he can get some fancy initials after his name.
I am.
Besides Junior.
Those are the most prestigious things after my last name.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. But anyway, we're going to talk about digital forensics, and we'll start with ownership. Now, we did an episode on trackers.
Yeah.
How you can track stuff you own, right? It comes down to who owns what, right?
Right.
We get calls daily about, I want you to hack my girlfriend's phone. I want you to hack such and such's phone, is, not mine, improve something. Now, I'm an ethical hacker. You think I can hack somebody's phone from a distance, Juice?
Yes.
All right. You know what the charge is for that?
You're not going to look good at Club Fed. I know that.
It's a big one. It's about 10 years. You get into federal stuff, you get into wire fraud and all kind of different things. But you get into all kind of trouble for hacking devices.
Right.
Okay. And people get mad at me about it because I won't do it.
Yeah. I don't want to go to prison either.
Yesterday, a woman said, well, you're not an investigator worth your salt if you won't hack this woman's phone. I said, okay. I guess I'm not good.
So we're not going to be that then.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it. But what it is, though, let's talk about the civil side. If you own a tablet, a computer, a smartphone, you name it, and you own that, all right, you're married, you both own it equally, and you give it to me, yes, I'll do forensics on that and pull all the deleted stuff off.
Right.
And put this out in a printable format so we can read it and see what was going on. All right. Our software puts all the text messages, deleted or otherwise, if they're still on there, in a nice little format so we can put it on the screen and read them. All right. Instead of having to search for them and all that.
Right.
Pulls all the photos out of slack space if there is any. Now, phones don't have a lot of slack space.
Right.
They cover that in your course yet.
They're in slack space right now.
All right.
Yeah.
Phones have a tiny little microchip where stuff is saved.
Mm-hmm.
If you can get it pretty quick and not use that phone, that's why when people say, hey, I want you to try to pull deleted messages and pictures off this phone, I'll tell them to turn it off.
Yep.
Or just put it there, leave it like it is. Because the more data that flows through that phone, the higher likelihood that something that is in slack space that has been marked for deletion will get overwritten on a phone.
Right.
Now on a computer, a laptop, or a tower, you name it, a server, that slack space is huge. So you can pull stuff from years ago off of those computers.
Right.
Right. We got one now where the laptop appeared like it had been factory reset. All right. I open it up and we just run simple tool ease US on there. And it it pulled a ton of data off where this guy was doing business. He's a plumber, where he was doing business with quotes, estimates, and taking payments, but he's saying he don't have no money. Imagine that.
Yeah.
But so we're going to show that he does have some money, or he should. All right. Where is it if you don't have it? But back to phones, though, it's got that tiny little surface area where it saves stuff, and stuff can get overwritten pretty good. A bunch of stuff we can pull off of there, though. We can get iCloud data, iCloud login data. Now it's hashed. We'd have to run it through a K-enable to try to decrypt that and get their username and password, but it's possible.
Right.
Not guaranteed. All right. And we do that a lot. And we get phones. We get a phone every week at least to do some kind of forensics on. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. Sometimes there's been multiple phones.
Sometimes I get stacks of them.
Yeah.
And it takes a while.
Oh yeah. That one case, I brought you a bag full
of them.
Yeah.
Who's that, Juice? I don't know. Unknown. We're out in the country out here. So when somebody drives by, it's an event.
Yeah.
You like our new paved road?
I like that.
Less dust now, but they paved our road out here. But so while it's important, though, we can pull all kind of stuff off mobile devices. computers, but it comes down to ownership. If you don't own it, we're not going to touch it. So
Right.
unless we get a subpoena from a court. Now, we've done that before where the court subpoenaed a phone and we get it, and then we go do the forensics on it that way under some agreed upon time and place by the other opposing party.
Right, but it's still ethical.
Yeah,
it's not illegal what you're doing.
The judge said, go do it. And we go do it. So now let's talk about hours it takes. All right. A lot of people hand me these phones and go, hey, take a look at this and see if there's anything crazy with it.
Because it only takes 30 seconds, of course.
Right. How long is that course you've taken to be certified to do it?
The manual is like almost 1,000 pages.
Right. So you're paying for that when you
Yeah.
come to us. All right, you're paying for the certification that we go to court. We're not some dumb aid that just decided we're going to be a forensic examiner. We're professionals.
Yes.
You're paying for that. And one phone, if we do a full workup on it, can take anywhere from 6 to 12 hours, depending on what's on there. All right. So, and I throw a number out there. I'll say it's $2,500 per device. And people's like, oh my God.
Yeah. There's a lot goes into that though.
Mm-hmm. And that's what it is. Sorry. That's what it is. It's probably a little cheap on the cheap side, but hey, that's what we do. Yeah, it takes some time. It takes a lot of training, and we got software we use. It costs money. So it's not just something that somebody off the street should be doing. All right. We had a case where a police officer that is not certified in digital forensics did his own forensics on the phone. And our guy is facing a 15-year sentence. It's a big crime. And they had court Friday. I don't know what came of it.
I didn't see anything. I knew it was coming up. I didn't know when.
I don't know, but we'll see what happens there. I don't know what the outcome is. Sometimes the judge won't, they'll take some time before they have a ruling on the hearing. But that hearing was to see if that phone evidence could be admitted. And if it's not, the case is over.
Yeah, I would say that wouldn't be admissible.
Right. Well, we went to the whole thing where they had me come down to the lab and the officer wouldn't let me do my own forensics as the judge ordered. So it's a big deal.
Yeah. There's nothing strange about that.
Yeah. What are you hiding? What are you hiding, pal? But,
so what about, you can do it on phones. You can do it on laptops, iPads. How about a jump drive?
A jump drive. Yeah. Have I got one laying around? I usually got them laying around here. I need to get some.
Yeah. Somebody asked me that and I said, yeah, we can do it on jump drive.
Anything with us that saves data, we can do it. Jump drive, he's talking about a thumb drive, flash drive, you name it.
Yep.
We can do it on the little, the flash drives that go in cameras and video cameras. We can do it on those. We can pull deleted data off of those and everything. So our software also has what we call camera ballistics. So it'll tell you what kind of camera, what phone, what camera took that photo. That's important. We had this in a case where a woman had some photos appear on her phone. All right. And she said, I did not take these photos. All right. And we got in there, pulled them up, the ballistics on the photos, and showed that they were taken from a Nikon handheld camera, not a phone.
Right, right.
And placed on there and the date they were placed on there and all that. So her husband had some explaining to do on that one.
Oh.
He was trying to set her up to be a cheater, and she wasn't. So
he got busted.
He got busted. That evidence was not admissible.
I love when that happens.
He looked like a dumb butt. So anyway.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah, the ballistics is a big deal. And we also can pull digital artifacts off the apps. So we got one where I'm not getting into who it is and what it is, but found a Grindr artifacts. Anybody knows what Grindr is? It's a homosexual dating app, which is fine if that's your thing.
Right.
But the person was supposed to not been homosexual. Supposed to have been married to a woman. So that doesn't look good if you're trying to say that your wife's the bad person in this marriage.
Right.
So you're on Grindr looking at dudes, and you're accusing her of being an overbearing woman.
Right.
I think you got some problems that we need to bring it to light since you're going to point those allegations at her. What are your thoughts? Any other questions on that stuff?
That's all the techie stuff that I'm just now learning about. I'm a dinosaur.
We're getting juice in the tech, man.
I know, it's scary.
You're more tech than you say you are.
Well, to a point I am.
you know how to use CAD design and all that stuff.
Oh yeah,
which is
I can do CNC machining, write programs. I can design things in CAD. I was a die maker, tool and die maker. Yeah.
But you say you're not a tech person.
No, not really.
You can you're good with the user interface, not the nuts and bolts. Right. Right. All that digital forensics class does is get you into the nuts and bolts a little bit of how they work. So,
and that's where we're at now, just a little bit of the nuts and the bolts, and it's progressing. So, but it's interesting though. I didn't think it'd be interesting. I thought it'd be like chewing sawdust, but now that I'm starting to get into it, it's kind of interesting.
You get through the history and the law and
once you get through that stuff, then it starts to get interesting.
Right. It's an interesting course. Now, in that course, you get into all open source tools. By open source, I mean free tools.
Right.
Which there's a ton of free ones out there that the FBI uses.
Yeah.
And you'll get into Autopsy on there, which it's the interface for Sleuth Kit. But on that one, you can image a drive off a computer, then run the Sleuth Kit, looking at it through Autopsy, and it gives you all the deleted data. It gives you a ton of information off that computer. Only for computers, though. It doesn't work on iPhones, and we have to use Mobile Edit for that. So Mobile Edit works on iPhones and Android, which we get a mix of both.
What is it when you can hide something inside of a photo or
steganography?
Steganography.
Yeah. So steganography is where you hide images and messages inside of a photo.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing with child pornographers.
Yep.
They do that on the internet. What they'll do is they'll put it on Reddit or somewhere. We just call it steg. They'll steg a photo, and it'll have a hidden image in there or something that tells them where to go to on the dark web to find the child porn.
Yep.
They go a long ways to look at child porn, man.
Yeah, there's some sick people out there.
I mean, good Lord. But and you can also do steganography for your drug dealer. They do that as well.
Oh, yeah.
So any kind of vice, man, they do it through steganography. It may look like just a normal image.
Yeah.
But if you know what you're doing, you click on that, download the image and break it apart. It tells you where to go on the dark web and to go buy your vice, whatever it is.
Yep.
Your drugs, your hitman.
Oh.
The dark web. We need to do a whole episode on the dark web. We've done one before, but
it used to be easy. You just go to the mob and say, hey, I need this guy whacked.
I need a hitter.
Yeah.
Here's the thing now on the dark web. I'd say 80% of the websites on there are FBI traps.
Oh, yeah.
Or Fed traps or police traps.
Yeah.
You go on there and it goes, look, get this and all this. And you click on there and then they're showing up at your door.
Yeah. I wouldn't call them traps. I call them just desserts.
Just desserts.
Yeah. Because you're going to get your just dessert.
You deserve it.
Yeah, you do.
Mm-hmm.
That's just me.
Right. People get desperate for their vices, though. Drugs, guns, whatever they're looking for. And you can get it on the dark web. It's not since the dark webs came to light now, like people are like getting on there more. It's not as frequent as it used to be.
Yeah.
People's going back to the old school, buy it on the streets. But
I think it's safer that way, but what do I know?
What do you know?
Yeah.
When's the last time you bought heroin?
Sicily, 1812.
1812.
Yeah.
Did they have heroin then?
I have no idea.
Well, Poppy's been around forever. So
yeah, I'm sure they did.
They called it opium then, I guess.
Yeah.
You just drink it instead of shooting it in your veins.
Yeah, the H, the horse, the smack. Oh, yeah.
The horse. The smack. That's the street names for it.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get into servers a little bit. So we've been asked before. We've had corporations. This was a divorce case where a guy had a corporation. Now, it was a contractor, a government contractor.
Okay.
He was trying to say they didn't make a certain amount of money, and he hid all the contracts from his wife. All right. Big time money. We're talking.
Okay. So he's money laundering.
We're talking about in the millions.
Embezzlement.
And they had what they call a RAID server, random array of interconnected devices or something like that it stands for. All right. Which I probably said that wrong. Somebody can correct me, but it's called a RAID server. It's a bunch of servers where if one fails, the other ones back it up. Right. If you had a large corporation, that's how the cloud works, by the way. It's just a big RAID server is all it is. But he had one in a closet in their company office. And his wife wanted to get a hold of that and see what he was hiding. So did her lawyer. We're talking upper millions of dollars here. All right. He said he didn't have no money. But anyways,
well,
so the judge, we had to get the judge involved because it was a government contractor. So it was kind of a big thing. They had to get permission from the government and all this stuff. But we got it granted. And I went and acquired that RAID server, took it back to our office, and started extracting data. Now, when you open them up, hook them up like a computer, they look like nothing was on them. And we extracted the government contracts he had won, all the QuickBooks data he had deleted off of there.
So he thought.
And we had about $12 million of unaccounted for cash. But he finally admitted, hey, I've got another bank account. And that's where we've been putting it. So,
he finally admitted it after he got caught.
Yeah. So he had to pay her money.
Oh, good for her.
He had to pay her some money. But that was a corporate one we got involved in. We can also go in if you think you got employees laundering money. So here's the corporate side of this stuff. Oftentimes, the employee that they think is laundering or hiding money or stealing data to use it in an open market, intellectual property stuff, say the company invented something and that's their intellectual property, or they have some kind of how-to guides that are intellectual property, and an employee takes that and then goes out and markets it on the open market like it's theirs, right? Typically, they just get fired, but then they call us and they come and say, what damage did they do? How much did they take? And we go in and we'll find where they downloaded and deleted it off of a computer, but they downloaded to a removable drive, which in a lot of companies, that's illegal. Even in the Army and the Marines, the military, you can't even use a removable drive.
Well, we use jump drives like in manufacturing.
Yeah.
We'll sit down and we'll write a program to make a part, and then we'll load it onto a jump drive. We'll go out to the machine and we'll load it from the jump drive into the machine, but it's still on that jump drive.
Right.
So there's a lot of stuff on those jump drives.
So if you took that jump drive and got you some machines and started manufacturing that same product, you could be in trouble.
They could.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, I accidentally, in the machining world, when you leave a company, you just pile your garbage, your tools and your specialty tools you made, whatever consumables, you just load them in your toolbox and you're out the door. You go on to the next company.
Right.
Well, I found a jump drive in one of my toolboxes and I'm like, oh, I can use this. I put it on the computer at the next job and realized it had all the information for all the parts I made at the last job.
Right. But you didn't start a website and say, look at these tools I can make.
No. The funny thing is I fired up my heat treat oven and I put it in the heat treat oven at 2200 degrees and I toasted it.
Yeah.
Nobody's getting anything off that drive.
Right. So we've had them before where this company we were doing this for they're a plastic wrap manufacturer, and they have a method how they make it, which is, I guess you would call it patented.
Right.
They have it the way it's made, that they're the only ones who can do it.
Right.
All right. And this guy took it to another company and they started making it the same way. Yeah. It's just coincidence, right?
Yeah. Intellectual property is a big thing.
It is. And we got their computer and showed his computer he used and helped them make a case and prove that he had put it on a flash drive and probably taken it with him, where he had saved a ton of data to a flash drive.
Right.
He tried to cover his tracks, but he didn't do a good job of it. And we were able to prove it, and they sued that other company we're in the millions of dollars. It's a bunch of money.
Yeah.
And they had to stop manufacturing that product. So,
yeah.
And that guy got in big trouble. And
he should have.
Yeah. But why did the other company hire him?
Because they knew he had information.
Right. But I would question that. If you're in the plastics industry and you know that there's only one place in the United States that makes it a certain way, wouldn't you have a suspicion?
Well, you would, but so
are you hungry for
you
money?
had to sign a agreement at this one gun firearm manufacturing place I worked at, that you would not go work for a competitor that manufactured an area. You would not go to them for any employment at least 6 months past your last day at work.
I worked for a heavy equipment company. It was 2 years.
Yeah. And and I get it. I mean, because they're competitors. They make the same style AR based rifles and stuff. And one rifle I would not buy. The other one I may buy.
Right. I know which one you're talking about, by the way. So it's a big deal in the corporate world.
It is.
Digital forensics is, and we do it for corporate. We do it for individuals. And it's can be time consuming. And when people see the price tag, sometimes their jaw drops. But
yeah, but like you said, this one that you did was millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
If you hadn't got there and you hadn't stepped in and been able to done the digital forensics on it,
mm-hmm.
and it went 10 years, how much money would it have been then?
Yeah, billions.
What if you're that individual that has that process,
mm-hmm.
and now it popped up somewhere else,
and they paid me $5,000. So,
yeah. See, I mean,
mm-hmm. Right. Usually corporations, they don't blink at the price. It's the individuals whenever they see that $2,500 to $5,000, they're like, oh my.
But they, it's not like you try and hide it from them. You tell them up front everything. Hey, look, this is what we got to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. But all right, that's all we got on this one. If you got comments, questions on digital forensics, let me know. Say bye, Jus.
Bye, Jus.
He did it. Hey, everybody, Macky here. I just wanted to go over our name change of our company. So this is the Hidden Threads podcast, but we also have a company. It was named Macky Outlaw Private Investigators. Now, with our expansion into other states and franchise owners buying into our franchise, we wanted to make it something where it's more of a team concept than just one person's name. Yep, that is my real name, Macky Outlaw. I get asked that every day. Hey, is that your real name? It is, in fact, on my birth certificate. But we have changed the name to ShadowNet. So the name comes from us working in the shadows for people all the time, and net for network, since we are a cyber forensics company. So we combine them together to ShadowNet Inc., and you'll see it on our advertisements and our Facebook page and other social media where you see it. So, yep, it's the same great company, same great results, just a different name, ShadowNet. Look for us on the web. Thanks.